Hello and welcome back to Voice Behind the Case, a space where we slow down, look deeper, and tell the full stories behind tragedies that deserve more than a headline. Today we are talking about the life and mysterious death of Pule Kgaratsi, a respected educator, talented dancer, and school principal whose life ended in a way that still raises many questions. His story is not only about violence, but also about legacy, identity, and the unanswered questions that can haunt families for years. Many people in South Africa remember him as a man who believed deeply in education and in the power of the arts to transform young lives. He was known for being passionate, outspoken, and deeply committed to the students and communities he served. Yet his life ended suddenly in the early hours of a winter morning in Soweto. The circumstances surrounding his death shocked colleagues, students, and loved ones alike. Even years later, the case still leaves many people asking what really happened that night. For the people who knew him, the loss of such a vibrant personality felt especially painful. This is the story of the life, career, and unresolved murder of Pule Kgaratsi. Pule Kgaratsi was born on the 29th of January 1966 in Soweto, one of South Africa's most historically significant townships. Growing up during a turbulent time in the country's history, he developed a strong sense of identity and resilience. From an early age, he showed an interest in both education and the performing arts. His love for dance eventually led him to join the well-known South African dance company Moving Into Dance Mophatong. Through this company, he had the opportunity to perform internationally and share South African culture with audiences around the world. Those who worked with him during those years described him as energetic, disciplined, and deeply expressive. Dance allowed him to communicate stories and emotions in ways that words sometimes could not. Despite the success he found in the arts, he eventually chose to dedicate his life to education. He believed that teaching young people could create lasting change in communities. This decision would shape the rest of his professional life. As he transitioned into education, Pule Kgaratsi became known as a teacher who genuinely cared about the growth and well-being of his students. He worked in several schools over the years and built a reputation as a dedicated and thoughtful educator. Many learners remembered him as someone who demanded excellence but also offered guidance and mentorship. His leadership skills led him into management roles within the education system. One of his important positions was serving as deputy principal at Fons Luminous Secondary School in Diepkloof. In that role, he worked closely with teachers and students to improve academic standards. He believed that schools should not only teach subjects but also build character and confidence in young people. His colleagues often spoke about his strong work ethic and clear sense of purpose. He was known to push for progress even when it was difficult. For him, education was never just a job but a mission. In 2015, Pule Kgaratsi reached an important milestone in his career when he was appointed principal of Sandown High School in Sandton. This appointment was historically significant because he became the first black principal of the school. The moment represented both personal achievement and broader social change in South Africa's education system. Many people saw his appointment as a symbol of transformation in schools that had historically been dominated by white leadership. As principal, he was determined to create an environment where all learners could succeed regardless of their background. Students often described him as a visible and approachable leader who interacted directly with them. He believed strongly in discipline, but also in compassion. Teachers appreciated his willingness to listen and his focus on improvement. Under his leadership, the school community began adjusting to a new chapter. Few people could have imagined that his life would be cut short just 2 years later. On the evening of the 29th of July 2017, Pule Kgaratsi attended a social gathering in Kliptown, a well-known area in Soweto. Friends and acquaintances later said the evening appeared normal and relaxed. There were no obvious signs that anything unusual was about to happen. After spending time socializing, he eventually left the gathering during the early hours of the morning. At some point, he drove toward the area known as White City. Exactly what happened next remains one of the biggest mysteries in the case. Investigators believe that he may have met someone shortly before his death. Whether that meeting had been planned in advance or happened spontaneously has never been clearly established. The timeline of his movements during those final hours remains incomplete. What is known is that something went terribly wrong before dawn. At around 4 a.m. on the 30th of July 2017, tragedy unfolded in White City. Pule Kgaratsi was found inside his car, an Audi TT, parked in the area. He had been shot multiple times and died at the scene. Reports later confirmed that he had sustained 4 gunshot wounds. The discovery shocked both the local community and people connected to the school where he worked. Police were called to the scene and began an investigation into the killing. The circumstances inside the vehicle raised additional questions for investigators. Reports indicated that he had been partially undressed when he was found. This detail suggested that he may have been with someone shortly before the shooting occurred. However, exactly who that person might have been remains unclear. As investigators began examining the case, several possible motives were considered. One theory was that the killing might have been linked to a personal or romantic relationship. Some reports suggested the possibility of a love triangle involving a romantic partner. Other speculation suggested that the person he met that night could have been connected to criminal elements in the area. Another possibility investigators considered was robbery, although some details did not clearly support that theory. Because the circumstances were unusual, many questions remain unanswered. Detectives attempted to reconstruct the timeline of his final movements. They also tried to determine who he may have communicated with shortly before his death. Unfortunately, progress in the investigation appeared to be slow. As months passed, no arrests were made. For the family of Pule Kgaratsi, the lack of answers became deeply frustrating. His sister and other relatives repeatedly called for greater transparency from investigators. They felt that the case was not receiving the attention it deserved. At one point, the family decided to hire a private investigator to try uncover new leads. They hoped that independent work might reveal information that had been overlooked. The family also raised concerns about some of his belongings reportedly going missing during the investigation. This only deepened their suspicions that something had gone wrong in the handling of the case. Public statements from the family reflected both grief and anger. They wanted justice, but also simply wanted to know what had happened. Years later, those questions still remained unanswered. Despite the tragic circumstances of his death, the legacy of Pule Kgaratsi continues through the many lives he touched. Former students remember him as a principal who believed in their potential. Teachers recall a colleague who valued teamwork and dedication. In the dance community, people still remember the talented performer he once was. His life reflected a rare combination of artistic expression and educational leadership. Those who attended his memorial service spoke about his energy, his vision, and his commitment to progress. Many described him as someone who constantly encouraged others to strive for more. For the community, his death felt like the loss of a mentor and a guide. His story became a reminder of how fragile life can be, yet his influence continues to live on through the people he inspired. As of today, the murder of Pule Kgaratsi remains unsolved. No one has been arrested and no one has been charged in connection with the killing. The questions surrounding the events of that early morning in White City remain unanswered. For his family, the lack of closure has been a painful reality. They continue to hope that one day the truth will emerge. Thank you for watching Voice Behind the Case. If this story moved you, please remember that sharing these stories helps keep the memories of victims alive and reminds us that justice still matters. If you found this video informative, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss future cases. Until the next case, stay safe, stay aware, and continue looking beyond the headlines.